doing another class. So if you guys are interested, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what products you would be interested in learning more about. That will help me out as well. It doesn't have to, like, mixed media, you know, wet media, stamps, all that sort of stuff. Now, this, and I will also preface this video right at the very beginning and let you know that yes, this video is longer than my usual videos, and that is because I do a lot. Okay, this is where you get bang for buck. Okay, this is a double page layout using the 6x6 paper pad, which is in the crazy kit that you purchased if you're one of the people that decided to play along. The paper pad is the Craft Consortium 6x6 over the rainbow color pad. And at the moment you can see me stamping on just a scrap piece of white cardstock. And I just pulled out a stamp out of my AUSSIE SLANG stamp set. And what I wanted to do was just create some circles. Now, what I've done with this video is I'm doing everything by hand. So yes, I have punches, but I want this to be something that you guys realize that you can do at home. You don't need special tools for this. So as long as you have products that work in the same way as what I'm using here, you can create this layout. I have full confidence in you guys. Whether you have confidence in me teaching you how to do it, it could be a different story, but she'll be right. Sorry about my squeaky chair. Now, okay, so what am I doing? So I'm cutting out some circles. Now, the one thing I want to make crystal clear, there is not one part of this that has to be done a certain way. There is room for error in this double page layout big time. So if you want to give it a crack, go for it. If you make these circles and they're not cut out as perfect circles, don't worry about it, because I'm about to show you what we do, so then you don't notice if they're not perfect circles. So if you have a circle punch, by all means use that. I wanted slightly varying sizes in my circles, and see how I'm going around the edge of it just very roughly, and I'm actually using a pair of my old mini snip scissors, and basically I'm just going around the edges and distressing the edges. So it doesn't matter if it's cut out perfectly, because you're going to do this anyway. So it hides a plethora of problems. Believe me when I say this to you. So what I've done is I've cut out a stack of just different size circles. There's basically a smaller size and a larger size. That's what I'm running with. Now, with this set, you also get the Darkroom Door 4x6 stencil, and it is a grunge. It's called Grunge Borders. Now, what I've done is I've pulled out my inks, and these are my Distress Oxides, and I've pulled out colours that I think will be dark enough to stand out and make these papers something different. I'm adding more interest to them. If you're playing along and you're overseas, any stencil will do. It doesn't, trust me, when you see the whole process all the way through, it doesn't matter how you get your spots on your circles, and it doesn't matter if you don't have a stamp. Use the end of a felt pen, use the end of a mechanical pencil, use the eraser. Anywhere you can get a dot, go for it. Now, the other thing, so what I'm doing with this bit is I'm just doing a bit of tone on tone, but I'm using the stencil and I'm just basically just running over different areas of it, and I'm just adding visual texture to the paper, the cardstock, right? These cardstocks, I gotta say, they're fantastic. They're nice. They're not thin paper. They're double-sided in color. So you get the option, when you buy one of these paper pads, you're essentially getting double the amount to choose from. So you get like the dark purple and then the lighter purple on the other side. So you can choose which side you want. Do you want it really bright? Do you want it a little bit more dull? Totally your call. Now, when I went through, I just pulled out some colours that I thought, you know what, we're just going to use what's in here. We're going to see. I've still got probably a third of my paper pad left. So down the track, you'll see me use that up on different things, but it won't be specifically as a part of the class, you know. But like I say, these classes are very, I want them to be something that you can go away and go, I reckon I could give that a crack. She made that look easy. Is it actually that easy? 100%, I will stand here right now. Well, I'm sitting, but I will sit right here right now and tell you there is nothing on here that a new person, I reckon Jen could do this. That's how easy this is. It's just the dynamic impact you can create with lots of tone on tone, a little bit of pre-thought, you know, sort of working it out. And like I said, all I'm doing, I am cleaning my stencil off in between just with a piece of paper towel. And this is where a little bit of talent comes in. You either, if you can't draw them, print some out. If you can't draw flowers, go for it. Print one off on your home printer and copy it. If you have a Cricut, I mean, I have a Cricut. I could have cut these out on a Cricut, but I wanted to show you that we can actually do this without needing a Cricut or any sort of extra expensive tools. So it was at this point that I remembered that I not only wanted to use the stencil, but I wanted to just pull out one of my stamps. Now this one is it's a PRIMA stamp and it's called Secret Notes. It is also, all of these are available through Crazy Craft Obsession, who so wonderfully have sponsored and assisted in the products being able to be put into a kit form. And they were so lovely. They gave us, if you go there and buy your pack, they gave you a 15% discount. So that was massive. That was absolutely fantastic. Now, basically what I do here, this is when I start to realize this could become very overwhelming. So this is where I go, okay, let's start numbering the circles and numbering the flowers. Can you see what I'm doing there? There's nothing tricky about this. Yes, it is slightly sped up. Well, it is sped up. But this is, and I do cut it out. I don't make you guys sit and watch me do all the flowers and then cut out all the flowers. That's the only bit of editing that I've really done. So what I've done is I'm showing you how I cut these out. I am using my gigantic Tim Holtz shears, but I use them all the time, so I'm used to them. And I wanted a long blade. Otherwise, potentially, you could be here for ages and ages. Now, that's right. This is where I decided I need to put my dots down. I need to write a number so I can put everything back where it needs to go. Otherwise, it's going to become very laborious to watch. Like, you're going to need to switch it off half a dozen times because it's just going to be me going over things. So what I did is I'm doing this a couple of times to show you exactly how easy it is to create these flowers. Now what I'm doing with the big circle, with the little circle in the center, obviously the little circle is the center of the flower. And this is me remembering, this is where I was like, oh, I'm going to get all confused here. So I ended up writing the numbers down. So what helped me, I had 12 flower centers. So I needed to cut out 12 flowers. I numbered 1 to 12, and then as I did them, I just crossed them off so that I knew I had the right ones in the right spot. Under the dots, what I actually write on the backing sheet, I write the color and the corresponding number. That saved a lot of backwards and forwards and then coming back to it later and it didn't work. So it saved on that. Now, I did realize at this point that I actually needed a few more sheets of the cardstock in order to be able to make some really big giant flowers. And Villainous Potion is the colour that I'm using over the top here. Now, I'm going to run off the top of my head the colours that I used in the Distress Oxides. It does look like I've pulled every single ink that I own. I didn't quite do that, but I did pull out a lot. I used mustard seed. These are all Distress Oxides, okay? The reason I used oxides is because they have a pigment ink in them. And by having that pigment ink, it sits on top of the cardstock and it stays wetter longer, but it also, you can layer it up. So you can put another colour over the top of that colour. So it worked really well in this situation to create the visual texture, right? Now the colours I used were Mustard Seed, Mowed Lawn, Rustic Wilderness, Picked Raspberry, Villainous Potion, Blueprint Sketch, Lumberjack Plaid. Oh, I love that colour. Oh man, I love it. And Ripe Persimmon. So, and I did use Black Soot as well. I didn't write that down. I will add that to my list right now. Black Soot, because I know I use that. Now, as you can see, I'm just going around. It's not difficult. I'm making them square and just bringing them up to the... Originally, I was thinking of making them have like squared off petals, sort of like a bit like a petunia sort of thing. But as I was doing it, I ended up rounding off a lot of the corners because it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to my eye. You do you. You create your flowers however you want. Do you want to make giant ones like me? Do you want to make smaller ones? Would you prefer to make 20 small ones? You do you. It is your thing. You do whatever you think you want in your album. No, there is no right or wrong here. Now, I do skip over. I start cutting them out and then I skip a little bit because I turn the camera off for a little bit because there's just, once you've seen me do a little bit, you know how to do it. So I know I normally always leave everything in, but when there's a lot of repetition, like I'm doing in this particular video, I'm going to assume you guys don't want me to leave the whole lot in there. I'll be completely honest with you. This video has taken me, there was one bit that didn't record properly, but I still had the other half of the page to do, the other side, so it was okay. Now this is my last flower. You can see I've already got them cut out. So if in future you guys want me to just leave the whole thing in and maybe do a part 1, part 2 situation, let me know if that's something that you would like to do in the second lot of classes. I'm finalising some stuff with Cass and Jacques for the next scrapbooking classes. So that's why I'm asking you guys to put in the comments below if there's a product that you would like to use. It doesn't mean they can get it, and it doesn't mean that it might affect the price a little tiny bit. So just, sorry about that. So yeah, just that may make it vary a little bit, but I will post over on the Facebook group, and that way you guys can, we can sort of talk a little bit better with it. Now, of course, all this that I'm talking about is in April 2023. So in future, obviously, it's going to reach a point where they don't have them anymore. Now, for my background, I love starting off with just a white background. I know that intimidates a lot of people, but it's a cheap starting place, and I don't get scared by it, to be quite honest. I actually feel comfort with it for some reason. So I pulled out my Distress Oxide sprays, and you could see there I missed a bit, so I had to spray it again. I used Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn for my background. And then you saw me just come in then with some gold spray. That's my homemade mica spray. And if you want to know how to make it, there is a video on my YouTube channel that you can follow. And or if you don't want to do that, you can jump over to the Facebook group, and I've actually got the recipe pinned up on the wall. So it's pinned at the top so you can find it whenever you like. I love it because it is shiny, shiny gold. Did I just cover a big chunk of it up? I sure did. But that is what mixed media is. Mixed media, it doesn't matter if you're using a stencil with texture paste. It doesn't matter if you're using stamps. It doesn't matter if you're using sprays, mists, all of that stuff. You are going to you're going to have yourself a situation where you're covering things up. So at the moment, I'm going around and I'm putting down some stamps. I pulled out Rustic Wilderness. This particular stamp that I'm using is from the Darkroom door. What's it called? Darkroom door. Hang on, I haven't written it down properly, and I can't find the name of it. It is the Mini Marks. So it's the Darkroom door rubber stamps, and it's called Mini Marks. It was fantastic. So Cass and Jacques actually managed to get that in for me because I really wanted that. So now you can see how the page is coming together. Okay. You can see that I'm using 6 photos. You can see it's photos of my child. This is actually Angela. And she's dancing. We were at an AFL game for Taylor, my eldest daughter. And Angela was dancing at that. Now, Angela plays AFL and Jennifer dances at her game. So it's quite funny. Now, I wanted... To be fair, I probably would have moved one of those larger flowers down a little bit so there was a bit of a point of difference, but for some reason I've left them almost practically in a line. But you know what? I love them anyway. I really do love the way this layout turns out. And the whole lot of it is all made with either white cardstock, ink, or some sprays. That's it. So it's absolutely fantastic. I love how it turned out. Now what I'm doing at the moment is adding some foam squares. Now these are just the small itty bitty tiny squares, and I'm not lifting up every single petal. I'm only lifting up some of them. You know, when you look at a gerbera or something like that in the garden, some of the petals are sitting perfect, and then you might have a broken one. It might be sticking up a little bit, or, you know, crossing over the next one. So that's why I wasn't worried about these flowers and their petals being perfect, because, well, there's no such thing as a perfect flower. So, yeah. So this is where I'm up to. I've got the flowers down. I'm just raising up some of the bits and pieces that I wanted to raise up. And I'm loving where it's going. It's actually working exactly how I had it in my head. So I'm wrapped with that. Now, you know how I said to you, don't stress about the mini marks. Don't stress about the stamping that you're doing. It doesn't have to be side by side. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's all good. Well, as you can see, I just cut the tip off that flower because this is a double pager. I wanted one of the flowers to be crossing over between the 2 pages. Aesthetically, I like that. So here I'm having a bit of a play and a bit of a toy with what I'm going to call these. I don't want the title in this particular case, I don't want the title to be so bold and out there that I want the flowers and the photos to be what hits you first. So I think I've managed to achieve the fact that the flowers really stand out. I think that worked. And you can see the marks on them. They don't look exactly the same. They've got slightly different colours. And I think it works really, really well. Now, what I decided to do was pull out some of my the rub-ons that come on the 12x12 49th and Market Art Options Rouge collection. These are the Rouge Sentiment rub-ons. I have used so much of that particular rub-on transfer sheet. I've used stacks of it because it is that versatile. It really is. If you've got the money, you can afford to get yourself some, shout yourself some. You will not regret it. Now, when it comes to rub-ons, some of them I put directly down, like those bits. I've put them on the actual photos. But the two titles, I suppose you'd call it. So one says So Sweet and it's in the green. And then the other one is Love You So Much and it's in the pink. So I wanted those to go on there. And they're my titles, but they're not over the top and in your face. I did run around the edge of them with some black soot ink. Sorry, I should have got a drink. Then what I did is I've actually already gone over, this is the bit of footage that I somehow, it didn't transfer properly. So I've actually already gone over and put a lot of the bling, the ones that I got from ALINA Crafts. They're just the black shiny beads. Now I'm just adding a few more of these tinier ones just to make, I don't want the center of the flowers to be perfect. I want them to be random black spots, if that makes sense. So just to be a little bit more arty with it. I think it's a bit cliche to put like 5 spots in the center of a flower. So then what I decided to do was I wanted to go through and I wanted to grunge the flowers up a little bit more. Like it wasn't quite where I was at with it. I wanted to, so I pulled out my Distress watercolor pencils and I pulled out my black pencil. Now in this situation you could use black water paint, you could use some black acrylic and really water it right back, like really, really water it down. You could use that. You could use, I've got, what are they? Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. They would do the same job. I've also got the Aldi watercolor pencils. They work really well as well. But I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. I love them to death and they are so pigmented. You just do, like, this is literally, you can see me, I'm just doing one tiny little scratch on the paper and then I've just got a damp brush. It's not wet, it's just damp. And you can see how I'm creating a bit of a shadow effect. What I'm doing, look, it's not a true shadow. Shh, don't tell anyone. But it's enough on the petals that you realize that they're not flat. That's what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create a little bit of movement, a little bit of shadow to make them look a little bit more 3D. And you can see all I'm doing is just putting a tiny bit of watercolor pencil on there and then with a dark, okay. Look, you got to forgive me guys. It is 10 to 10 at night and I still haven't finished this. It's now taken me, take AFL out of it and picking up kids from school, gymnastics training, all that sort of stuff. Take all of that out of it. This double page layout has probably taken me the best part of 6 hours to complete. So none of it's difficult. It's just repetitive. So up until this point, there's probably zero skill. It's just a repetitive situation that you can you get better as you go, you know, like you add the pencil down and then you sort of go, like, when I started off, I was just doing one line and then the brush, you know, but then I got to the point where I'm like, no, this is working. I'm just going to go around the whole thing and then go around the whole thing with a brush. Totally works. Now, you can see by the ones on the right hand side, they've been grunged up already, so you can see those ones are looking more three-dimensional, and I gotta say, I absolutely love it. I think it turned out bang on the money, exactly what I wanted. Now sitting here looking at it and doing the voiceover, I think I probably could have used I should have maybe grunged up the two title pieces. I think that would have worked better. Now, this is where, you know, I need a border on a layout. Doesn't matter if it's a single page, double page, or whatever. 6 by 6, it needs a border. So I didn't want to go around the edges with another sheet of cardstock. I didn't want to cut into my photos. I wanted to just leave it as it was. So I pulled out Rustic Wilderness and my large foam blending tool, and I just went around the border, just around the outside border, and I went through with that. I was thinking about using the black watercolor pencil, but I thought, no, I'm going to try and keep this color. That's what I'm trying to do. Now we're up to the fun part. Well, I think it's the fun part. It's when you add all the bling to the page. So I'm adding liquid pearls here. Liquid pearls? Yeah, that's what it's called. It's getting late. Okay. I'm literally going, liquid pearls, is that a thing? Yes, Karen, you have got like 20 of the damn things. It is liquid pearls. Okay, so I used gold pearl and marigold. They're the two colors that I used, and I went around and just did 2 dots. Now, anyone else in this situation probably would have covered the photos up and then went to town splatting everywhere and creating splatters. Everyone here knows me well enough to know that that's not me. That's not my jam. I'll splatter before everything's on there to create the effect, but I didn't want to do that. So now what I'm doing is I'm running around and doing a squiggly, very, very loose petal. And I'm sort of tracing. You can see the yellow one down the bottom and the blue one. Now they pop just a little bit more. So this one here, you'll notice it. Yes, it's sped up, but super simple to do. It's just, I'm using my black Uniball Signo pen and I'm just running around and creating more visual interest on these pieces of paper. Essentially, this was just a piece of 6 by 6 paper, and we've added the stamping to it. We've added the stencil work to it. We've added the watercolor pencil to it to create shadows. And now we're adding some line work, which just helps it all come together. So it's, like I said, it's not hard, but now you've seen it done. If you're one of my subscribers from overseas, you could use this. You could literally, if you don't have any of the products that I'm using, you could get some of your kids' you could use kids' watercolor paint. You could use the kids' poster paint, and you could just paint some cardstock. Make sure it's slightly thick enough so it holds it. You could paint that and cut your flowers out. You could do rainbow flowers. You could do a black and white monochromatic look. You could do something that I've done it, but I did it quite a few years ago. You can actually do this. You know how you get those paper pads and they've got really, really tiny flowers and polka dots and stuff on them? You could use those. It does work. It works really well. So I'm just running around the border, making a very sort of notchy border with a little bit of side pen strokes just to make it sort of look like it's been sewn around the edges. And that's it, guys. So if you have stuck with me all this time, Thank you so, so very much. I really genuinely appreciate it. I would love it if you join us here in my little crafty corner. And I post 6 videos a week. I do anything and everything I possibly can to bring you unique, different ideas. And we will be doing another set of classes. Depending on what we select, I'm hoping that we can do a pre-order for them in May. And then hopefully then they will be out to you by June. If not, late June, we can start doing the classes. That's what I'm thinking. But I will confirm everything with Crazy Craft Obsessions and we will go from there. I'm just pointing out the stenciling and the stamping. When you get up nice and close to it, you can see the pen work. See how it's just tied it all together. So I absolutely love it. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment down below. I would absolutely love that. And don't forget to get your friends and whatnot to like and subscribe and leave comments, because we will be having a cash giveaway as soon as we reach 1,500 subscribers. So thank you so much for your time. I know everyone's time is very precious. Thank you so much. I will chat to you again soon. Bye for now.